Welcome everybody. I know I am way overdue for another boat video for the game of Raft. Raft has come out with some new features, so I wanted to make sure to incorporate those into a new design. This design is actually fashioned after kind of biodomes, or inspired by biodomes, I guess. It's pretty fully featured, other than say, I don't think I'm using inkwells or zip lines. But like all my boats, the floors are fully reinforced, so we're not constantly battling the shark. This boat comes in at a total of 88 base blocks, so the single engine works just fine. Not a large number of nets, and I believe I have a total of only 4 entrance or exits from the boat. So let's go through and take a look at what we've got here. Actually, I started using, in a couple areas here, you're going to notice vertical piping. I did that much as kind of a space saver. So the forward-facing dome is kind of the engine room. You'll notice that, like I said, we've got a couple entrance exits around here, our anchor, and of course our engine itself. If we go upstairs, all of control room, I went ahead and incorporated a tree here. Again, not structural, just part of the design. Some railing obviously to keep you from falling over. Kind of a tight fit up here. Again, I was trying to save space so it wasn't so large. But we've got our biofuel production, storage, and of course an area for us to be able to charge batteries, and it's all incorporated through the 2 floors. Let's go down and take a look at the garden dome. Actually, notice as an afterthought, I forgot that I really needed a place for getting feathers, and so yeah, I've kind of put these here. I would caution you, it's very easy to go overboard with these things and go hog wild or crazy and become a little bit cluttered, so be mindful of that. So in the garden dome, I kind of incorporated water, garden, and the animals together. This boat, unlike my last boat, has far more animals and 3 watering stations that are fully automated, probably more grass patches, and you do produce a lot of eggs if you've got a lot of the cluckers. But again, we've incorporated the new water purifying system, and you can see we have vertical piping here to save space as well. So let's go upstairs. So full garden area. I think this is a lot of space. I kind of try to keep the center here open for movement. Got our grill and cooking station, obviously. And of course it's right close here to the water, so it makes things really convenient for watering and cooking and whatever else. Same with the animals down below. It's far more complex than my last boat, and as we get into the design and how to build this, you will notice that it is far more complex to build. A lot of angled pathways and so on. So if we come over to the living dome here, it's kind of our living space. I haven't decorated it with a lot. I kind of like that minimalist look, as it were, but we've got plenty, of storage with labels. Got our workbench right in front of a nice little window for a great view. A couple little items that we've collected along the way. Go upstairs here. It's kind of the workbench area. Again, another tree that is not structural in any way. I think each one of these domes, the garden dome and the living space domes are basically 5 squares by 5 squares, and then the engine room is 5 by 6. We're able to put so much into that small space because we've gone 2 stories on all of them. But here you see we've got 6 smelters and storage, and you still have space here you could do a lot with. Like I mentioned before, I didn't incorporate an inkwell in this particular build. I wasn't really doing any painting, so I really didn't care. But there is space where several spaces here where if you wanted to on the first floor, you could incorporate an inkwell. Zip lines, I like the idea of zip lines. I think it's easy to go crazy with zip lines. And this particular build didn't really lend itself to incorporating them. I guess I could have maybe made it so that each one of them was connected and take away the platforms, but honestly, I wanted to kind of stay true to the biodome feel for this. And so I'll do a future video with a boat that incorporates maybe some of the zip line that's a little unique. And I promise I won't wait a year before I do the next boat video. So, but anyway, let's get started and learn how to build the biodome raft. All right, for phase one, we'll go ahead and set out the base and the posts that'll be used for the designs. I do want to note that when you first start playing the game, this first biodome, which is basically 5 by 6 squares, is probably what you're going to be living on for most of the time. I would not go any further than this until you've got everything, enough metal to reinforce all of these bottom blocks, or you're just going to be constantly fighting the shark. So it's not very difficult, so we'll start with the design of the engine room here. It's basically corner square, 3 squares, corner square, and then to give you your 5, and then it's 6 squares across, and pretty much ends at this block here. So give me a second and we'll talk about the angled pathways. You're coming over 3 squares, you've got an empty space here, 3 blocks for your engine, and then of course the rest of your blocks going up here. As far as your post placement, it's actually fairly easy here on the first blow. You've got in the corner, you've got those 2. And if you kind of look out or go a little bit further here, let's try to get that. I don't know if that's actually helping. Maybe it's easier to see it from this direction. So it gives you an idea of where those posts are placed. Some are functional, and others are actually more of aesthetic and are actually not required. But when it comes time to put up lighting, it'll actually come in handy. So let's move over to the other domes. Now these domes are pretty much mirror images each other's as far as size. They are literally 5 blocks by 5 blocks, and you can see that I've curved the corners on each of these. And then we look at the post. Now, a lot of posts here, obviously, because this is where the animal pin and everything is. So as you can see in that first row, we've got 4 posts. Come back, we've got 4 posts with a little bit slightly different design. Come forward again, pretty much on the 3rd block, and we've got 4 posts there. And then we come to the end of the boat, and you've got 4 more posts on the end there. Should be able to get that. Alright, so let's come over here to the living one. Again, 5 by 5 squares, reinforced. This one's probably got the easiest post placement. We've kind of got some here that are just 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 all the way across, going over 2 squares, and then you just kind of circle them there in the center. And that gives us our base to work with. So basically we'll just start designing from the engine room, and then we'll just work our way into the other domes. One note about, if you see how I've done this, this is the bottom right block and the bottom left block of the engine room. All I've done is basically used your triangle squares, or your right angles rather, and then just have that, and then there's a square in the center here and a square in the center. So basically it works out to about 2, 4, 6 blocks that basically make up each pathway. You've got the 2 center blocks, and then you've got the 4 like half blocks, I guess is a way of putting it, and then it just repeats over here. When it comes to trying to figure out, the hardest transition, I guess, is when you get the pathway up, is how do you start the blocks for the other domes, and just consider the first block off of your path, and then basically you've got 3 blocks, and then you've got your angles. And then when you come over here, it's the exact same thing. You just come to your pathway, turn to your right angle, do your your 3 blocks and then your angles. And then of course just kind of do your 5x5, rinse and repeat. So yeah, that's gives you your base. Alright, so let's get started on putting up our walls. There is on this one solid wall, ribs facing inwards, and the rest of these walls on this first floor, the exception of doors, are going to be window rooms. Let's see here. Actually, we have a. Let's place our doors first. So we've got. Let's see. We have a door there. We have a door there, and then across here we have the door as well. Our placement all the way around. Again, ribs facing inward. Not like we have anybody else that's going to see the outside of the boat, but do like consistency. And we'll go here. Takes our walls from that. Walls up. And let's see. We do have some railing in here. It's easier to put it in after the fact. But I kind of know where those rails can go and won't go. Won't go there. Don't want it to interfere with the engine placement. And then let's go ahead and start on our roof. I left upstairs. I closed this first one and just kind of left the other 2 open. It'll make sense once we get up there. It'll make sense. That's for our anchor hole, and it'll make sense when we get up there. Note that I also do. I will probably try to speed this up in the video so that you guys don't have to watch my boomer hands put this stuff together. But I did do corner blocks here. And on the second floor, I did do the corner blocks even though we don't have corner blocks here. So I guess that'll make sense. There we go. Go back, and that should be two blocks square, and then right, that should take care of our ceiling. And we're gonna come here, open that up. This is where we put our first ladder going upstairs. Up here, again, we had the one basically on the opposite side of where we're going to have, take this out. This is where we're going to have the vertical pipes coming up. And so I kind of didn't want those showing from the outside, so I just kind of used the full palm leaves to cover it, right? And then everything else is open to give us nice visibility. We're going to do something a little bit different there. So we have one extra block here for the antenna, and I put that basically from the right hand side upstairs, just over one block and forward. When we go to start doing that, it'll make sense. And then here, we just, there. I think I may have actually done one of these walls here instead of the railing. As a matter of fact, I know I did. Just because when it comes to roof time, that'll probably cause an issue. Let's put that in there. And then now we're going to go ahead and start with the roof. It may seem like the roof won't work here, but it does. Because we don't have any center posts, but the way these are angled, they will support the south. Notice even though these are corner, I'm actually not changing the block. I'm still using the basic thatched roof, and the game kind of is smart enough now to, you know, change that to a corner block so that it works. Actually kind of makes for a pretty easy. Now, to finish the roof, I find it easiest to start with the corner blocks. Come in and put your corner blocks first. Get those into place. And then switch back to your basic thatched, and then just kind of continue around. And then you have your two openings at the top. So that gives you your basic structure, basic entrance. I don't think I've forgotten anything. Got our engine fuel going up, pipes going up, got our anchor hole. Yeah, so that is the basic structure for just the basic husk, I guess, of the first dome without everything in it. So let's go ahead and move on to the living space. It's the easiest. We'll save the garden dome for last. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start on the living space / workshop dome, and I'm gonna go ahead and start with the placement of the door here, since I know that one's at the angle, and then go ahead and put in our rails. This is kind of a pretty open design here, and on this one we did window rooms or window thatched walls here, and then of course, if you remember where we had our workstation, we had an open window there, and then it is a living space after all. We do need our privacy from time to time, so you guys got to suffer through more boomer moments. There you go. So that gives you your base there, and we can go ahead and start putting up the roof. And like the other biodomes, you will notice that I used the triangle blocks here as well. Put those in. Look what I did there. I guess while we're here, if you want, you can put your railings on the sides here. Makes for a nice open air bedroom, which I think is kind of nice. Let's go ahead and open up our hatchway to the second floor. Put in our ladder. Now, upstairs in the workroom area, we kind of reversed it. So the windows are in the corners. Makes things kind of easy, I guess. And And then because we have the smelters and we wanted to be able to set up a lot of the storage around our smelters, we have solid walls here. You guys can start a drinking game. How many boomer moments can he have before his entire audience is ripping drunk? Anyway, all right, so let's see here. Go ahead and start on the roof. Again, just using the basic thatched roof, going all the way around. At this point, I guess it's kind of easy. I guess I said this was complex. Now that we're actually doing it, it doesn't seem too complex, right? Well, I guess you'll tell me in the comments, right? Right, again, just like the last dome, we'll start with our corners. Get our corners in place. And turn our last thatches. And unlike the engine room, you're only going to have one open square here instead of two. I think that works out. Of course, if you want more visibility in the workroom, I guess you can do that. I know we'll probably do in a later phase, we'll do some of the railings, but yeah, that works out. So there we go. There we have the basic structure for the living space and the workbench, or the work area. For phase 4, let's go ahead and deal with this animal pen. I'm going to start by putting the doorways 1, 2, 3 with the ribs facing in, and I have those across from each other. And then I use this wall with the ribbing facing inward. There we go. I'll come in here because I actually do use it here and kind of switch that ribbing to be inside again. Of course, we don't want the neighbors complaining that we've got our fence in backwards, right? Alright. Alright, so one thing we're going to do here that's a little bit different, I almost forgot. When placing the waterers, it's important, with the waterers in the walls, it's important that, rather the sprinklers, sorry, the sprinklers in the walls, that the sprinklers be put in first. Notice we're doing it with the nozzle facing out. Don't ask me why we have to do it first. There's that first boomer moment for now. Look, I even tried to break it. So obviously make sure your pipe holes are facing out. Once you have the waters in place, then you can come back and go ahead and put in your walls. And of course, if you've got your ribbing in, the pipe will be showing outside of it like so. There we go. Go ahead and finish this transition here. Alright, so here we have a little bit of a different, because we had the waterer. So we've got a little bit smaller space that we're working with here. Again, just be mindful of which way your ribs are facing, if that means anything. Alright, so for here, let's see. I ended up using, again, ribs facing in, ribs facing inward. Again, actually with here, I don't believe we have to put the water purifier in place first. Yeah, the water purifier will go right over the fence, so you should be good there. And that gives us start of it, so let's go ahead. We have a lot of railing here. I'm going to do it just because, well, it's really part of this design. Got a railing going across the top here on both water pins. I think we actually skipped that one. We'll know here in a second. I think because we put the ladder there, it messes with that railing. We will know shortly. Don't put railing over your doors or you'll never get in the doorway. Unless, is there a duck in this game? I don't think there's a duck in this game. Now, this is where all those posts do come in and tend to be structural. Let's start here, here. Get our roof going. See, we're gonna have vertical piping there, and here is where we have that kind of corner ladder transition. So just gonna kind of put that like so. I know it seems counterintuitive at the moment, but it'll make sense shortly. Let's go ahead and put our corners in since we have it selected and get this out of the way. You have to let me know in the comments, but I think we had less boomer moments so far. Or maybe I'm jinxing myself. I don't know, we'll see shortly. I'm sure I missed something. And let's go ahead and put our ladder transition here. Make sure that works. And you know what? I think I did have a boomer moment because I think the actual hole, yeah, for the pipe is actually there. Alright, so we're upstairs. Alright, for the walls up here, we did solid walls in the corners, because this is where we had a lot of storage. Do our ribbing in, of course. And then we kind of go with a thatched window for the rest of this. Have a lot of gardens, a lot of storage, window boxes, planters, and the like. And then we go ahead and rinse and repeat. Oops. Go ahead and picked our thatched roof. You guys should be masters at developing the thatched roof at this point. So there's no excuse. Should not be afraid of the thatched roof any longer. And do the corners first. And then finish it off here. Leaving the one hole open. Kind of have a weird design here. It's kind of a cross section with the railing. So that gives us our basic structure. So I guess at this point we are ready for going ahead and starting to place all the objects in design. I generally don't have too much commentary when we're actually kind of putting everything in place, so if I can figure out how to add music to it, maybe I'll give you guys some music while we go on to the final phase.